Religion has existed in every human society for as long as we have knowledge of human civilization. It is something that just seems to be part of humans living together. Indigenous religions refers to the oldest religious traditions that are still in existence on Earth. There have been many names for indigenous religions, such as primitive religions, animist religions, oral religions, etc. Although no single name is perfect, indigenous religions seems to appropriately differentiate these religions from the more recent historical religions. These indigenous religions exist in every part of the world. In the Americas, there are the Native Americans or American Indians of Canada and the US. In Mexico and Latin America, we have the Aztecs and the Mayans. There are indigenous religions in Africa, Polynesia, Hawaii, Australia, and New Zealand. Although these religions are much smaller in size compared to the other world religions we will study, they are crucially important to study as they give us a glimpse into the beginnings of religion on this planet. Anthropologists and theorists of religion hope that they can learn more about how religions first came about among humans and how they have developed and evolved. Although each indigenous religion is unique and involves aspects of its own social and historical context, there are several overarching similarities between these religions that we can outline. First, there is no separation between the religious and the secular in these traditions. For the practitioner of an indigenous religion, all of life is religious. Every action is a ritual, and every part of their life is part of a greater plan. Second, they are almost completely oral. Although nowadays many anthropologists and scholars have written extensively about these religions and documented their rituals and myths, this is not considered important by these religious traditions. They find more sanctity and flexibility in the spoken word and tend to think that committing their religion to writing makes it static and in a way dead. They also tend to have a closer relationship with the natural and animal world. They don't build the same separation between humans and nature the way modern civilizations do. They also focused on the past over the future. They think of history as cyclical and therefore value the past instead of the future, as the future is getting further and further away from the time of origins, which are considered more sacred. They also usually have certain physical locations that are considered sacred. These are usually natural places like trees, valleys, or rivers. They also contain within them the idea that the world needs to be renewed periodically through ritual. This is related to the idea that the past is more sacred than the future. As time goes by and we move further away from that powerful mythic time, the world degenerates and needs to be renewed through ritual, or brought temporarily back to that powerful time. This golden or mythic age is a source of power for those participating in the rituals and the society at large. They also tend not to focus on an afterlife. Most of them do believe that there is an afterlife, but they don't put as much emphasis on it as modern historical religions do. Although there are many fascinating indigenous religions, we don't have enough time to look at all of them, so we will be focusing on the Hopi Indians of the Southwest. They are an interesting indigenous religion to study because they are located close to us in Southern California, and they have little contact with modern American society, so their religion has survived in its traditional form for much longer than many other American Indian tribes. The name Hopi means the peaceful ones, and we will see how they live out that ideal in their daily lives and religious rituals. The Hopi Indians reside in what is now the state of Arizona, as you can see in this map. Although their original lands extended past the borders of Arizona into New Mexico, their current reservation is only a fraction of their original land. Their reservation is about 12,500 square kilometers, and according to the 2000 census, there are about 7,000 Hopis living on the reservation. The reservations include the village of Oribe, which is the oldest continuously inhabited village in the U.S. It has been inhabited since at least the 1540s. Although they do stay mostly separate from American society, many Hopis today have mainstream jobs and do interact with the larger society. Hopis, however, have repeatedly turned down the opportunity of opening a casino and instead make money from natural resources on their land and from creating high-quality art. Hopis believe in the one creator god named Tawa. Tawa, however, created other deities named Sotuknong and Spider Grandmother, who also helped with the creation of the world. Tawa created 3 worlds and inhabited these worlds with people, animals, and nature. Each world, however, lost its way. The people in them forgot about their creator, Tawa, and instead followed their own desires. The first world was destroyed because of adultery, the second because of laziness and gambling, and the third because of disrespect towards the ancestors and spirits. Each time the world was destroyed, Tawa allowed Sotuknong and Spider Grandmother to rescue a small group of people and protect them until the catastrophe that ended the world was over. You will look more in depth into this story in the primary source material of the Hopi creation myth. Some of the details do differ in different versions of the stories, but the overall plot is the same. We currently live in the 4th world. The few people who survived the destruction of the 3rd world came up through the Sipapuni, which is a hole in the ground that led to the underground area in which the humans hid during the destruction of the 3rd world. For the Hopis, this place is considered the sacred center of the world and is actually located in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. For historical myths, the Hopis believe that once this group of humans emerged into the 4th world, they were told by Sotuknong and Spider Grandmother that each tribe or group needed to migrate over the land in a certain pattern and for a certain amount of time before they could settle down. This was meant as a way to prevent these groups from making the same mistakes their ancestors did in the previous world. After migrating for several generations, the Hopis eventually returned to Oraibi and set up a settlement there. The Hopis eventually expanded their territory around that area. The Hopis take special pride in their belief that they have continued to follow the plan laid out for them by the Creator and his messengers since the creation of the 4th world. The Hopis believe in both a cyclical and linear pattern of history. It is cyclical in the sense that there was a pattern set forth by Tawa a long time ago, and the Hopis strive to continue those traditions and maintain their traditional way of life. However, it is also linear because they believe that they are moving towards the 7th world, so history is moving forward in a linear way. In terms of myths of endings, the Hopis believe that there will be 7 worlds in total, and so the world we live in currently will eventually be destroyed because of the sins of those living in it. This 7th world will be a perfect world in which everyone perfectly follows the rules and plan of God, and that world will last forever. In terms of personal endings, Hopis believe that upon death, people are transformed into kachinas. A kachina is a spirit or an ancestor. These kachinas are believed to live permanently near the Sierra Nevadas in Northern California, but to return to the Hopis each year in order to help with the planting and harvesting of their crops. These kachinas can help or hurt the Hopis, so it is important to respect and appease these spirits to ensure their continued help. For the Hopis, ritual is a constant part of life, whether they are everyday rituals or those that happen once a year or once a lifetime. Daily, Hopis pray to Tawa the Creator, and particularly they often pray through song and or while planting their corn. For the Hopis, the planting, care, and harvesting of corn is a holy ritual and therefore is often combined with prayer. These songs are prayers and are usually asking the deities for help with the crops. On a monthly basis, Hopis may visit their local kiva, which is the equivalent of a church or a synagogue. A kiva literally means a hole in the ground, and is a room dug out of the earth with a small hole near the top, symbolizing the Sipapuni, or place of emergence into the 4th world. The fact that this room is simply an earth room shows the Hopis' reverence for the earth, as they don't separate themselves from the earth at all in their place of worship. The kiva is simply more of a formal prayer place, and is also the site of many of the yearly ceremonies. The Hopis don't have a sacred day of the week, as they follow a lunar calendar. On a yearly basis, the Hopis have many ceremonies that they celebrate throughout the year, but the 2 most important yearly ceremonies are Soyal and Niman. These holidays are actually several days long and include many people, stages, and ceremonies as part of the holiday celebrations. Soyal is in the winter and is the Hopi New Year. Soyal occurs around the winter solstice and is a way of welcoming the kachinas into the Hopi community. It is the time when the kachinas are believed to return to the Hopis to help them with the planting and harvesting cycle. Niman occurs during the summer, around the summer solstice, and is a harvest celebration. It is also the time that the Kachinas are believed to leave the Hopi lands to return to their homes in the Sierra Nevadas. The planting happens halfway between Soyal and Niman, and the harvesting is halfway to Soyal again. So these ceremonies are ways to ensure that these planting and harvesting processes go smoothly. At a new child's birth, there is an elaborate naming ceremony. The child is also introduced to cornmeal, since that is such a sacred item to the Hopi. The child is kept in darkness for the first 20 days of its life, and then the women in the father's family name the child. Each of these women, who are akin to the child's godmothers, gives the child a name, and then the name that seems to stick with the child the most becomes their true name. When a child reaches adolescence, they are initiated into one of the religious societies of the Hopi community. There is a Kachina society and a Powaamu society, and the family of the child chooses which society that he or she will fit into best. During this time, the child's family teaches them about the myths, ritual, and traditions of the Hopis. The Kachina society is one that is focused on learning how to dance and become a certain Kachina for the yearly celebrations. These children are given a certain Kachina, which they will learn to know about, create a costume, and act as that Kachina in these holiday celebrations. Those who are selected for the Powaamu society are entrusted to be religious leaders in the community when they grow up. During midlife, a Hopi will marry and become a full member of the Hopi community and able to participate in the religious ceremonies. This can include dressing as a Kachina and embodying the spirit of a visiting Kachina. It is important to remember that the Hopis have no written scripture themselves. All written accounts of the Hopi religion are those done by outsiders. Therefore, theology in non-written religions like the Hopi religion are more fluid and flexible, and accounts of their mythology may vary slightly based on differing interpretations of myths. The Hopi religion is a theistic religion. Theirs is specifically a henotheistic religion. They believe in one ultimate divine reality, which is the creator god, Tawa. Tawa, however, is more of an impersonal god. Hopis follow the pattern and guidelines set forth by Tawa originally, but on a regular basis they speak more often to the lesser gods. There are these lesser gods and spirits that are much more involved in the everyday lives of the Hopis. It is the gods of the sun, moon, corn, Kachinas, etc. that the Hopis interact with on an everyday basis. It is to these lesser gods that they often pray to and perform ceremonies and rituals for, in order to ensure their continued help. So henotheism is a type of religious doctrine in which you have one high god and several lower gods or spirits. In the Hopi cosmology, individuals can find help from a combination of beyond and within oneself. The Hopis live in an enchanted world in that there are spirits, gods, or messengers in nature that are always readily available to provide humans with help along their path. These spirits are most often the Kachinas within the Hopi community. So these deities and spirits located beyond the individual can provide help and help keep the Hopi on track with Tawa's plan. At the same time, Hopis believe that each individual knows in him or herself what Tawa's plan is for the world and for humanity, so they have only to listen to this inner wisdom that was given to them by Tawa to keep them on track in this life. And this was seen in your primary source material of the Hopi creation myth, that Tawa creates each individual with his plan already within them. It's a part of their makeup when they are born. The main problem for Hopis is the forgetting of Tawa's plan for creation, so it is a straying from the traditions and rituals laid forth for all of humanity by God. Humans need to learn to rely on this knowledge that lies inside each individual. This forgetting is a problem because when people stray from this plan, they begin to be guided by only their own individual choices and desires, and according to the Hopis, this is how evil enters the world. This evil, of course, is a problem because if it gets too bad, and if a majority of people in the world have forgotten Tawa's plan, then this world will be destroyed so that the fifth world can begin. This, however, is necessary since only the seventh world will be perfect and without end. The ethical approach among the Hopi Indians definitely focuses on relational ethics. Hopi Indians are encouraged to cultivate respectful and proper relations to those in their lives. This focus on relations begins with the Hopi's duties towards his or her family, clan, and tribe. There are many traditional guidelines to showing respect and appropriate behavior towards these members, so the emphasis here is on respect for others. There is also an emphasis on creating harmony in these relationships, and therefore an aversion to antagonism or violence. Remember that the word Hopi means the peaceful ones, and this name really does have a strong foundation among the Hopi people. They strive to create peace and harmony between themselves and all others. Furthermore, these duties towards others do not end with only other people. Hopis also have important duties towards the animal world and the natural world. For example, many of the clans within Hopi society are named for certain animals, and these clan members have to cultivate good relationships with these animals. Furthermore, the relationship between the Hopis and corn is a particularly sacred one. The Hopis need to respect the land and water that they need to grow this corn, and respect the corn as well, as it is their sole substance of nourishment. Their key issues include caring for the environment, in particular caring for the land that they live on and protecting it from destruction. Also, the retention of their traditional values and religion is a central issue to them. For those who want to live a traditional Hopi life, retaining and living out these traditions is an ethical issue. Also, the rejection of wealth is important. Although many Hopis now have mainstream jobs, the tribe itself repeatedly rejected the opportunity to open a casino, and they tend to reject the materialism and focus on possessions of American society. The Hopis are a matrilineal society, meaning that their ancestry is traced through their mother's side. As a matrilineal society, also, the Hopis allow for greater leadership of women in religious and political positions than many other religions. Additionally, the women from the father's side are responsible for naming the child. However, it's important to note here that matrilineal simply means how you trace one's lineage. It does not necessarily mean who is in charge within the society. So even though the Hopi society is a matrilineal one, it is still a patriarchal society, in that men tend to hold positions of leadership. American society is patrilineal, in that we trace our ancestry through our father's side, as most children tend to take their father's last name, and we are patriarchal, although things are changing as our world starts to embrace more leadership from women. However, men do tend to control the religious ceremonies in Hopi society. Those who are chosen and initiated into the societies that lead the religious ceremonies are chosen for their ethical purity and serious nature. There is no formal ordination process for these religious leaders. All Hopis are initiated into their religion, and the religious leaders also tend to have other jobs in the tribe. The hierarchy in the Hopi tribe is based on clan membership. Each Hopi is a part of a particular clan, such as the Bear Clan or Badger Clan. These clans have a different status within the tribe, and they are lifelong associations, so you are born into a particular clan. Additionally, authority is given to the elders of the tribe. Older people are believed to have a higher status as they know more about the traditions of the Hopis. In terms of how the Hopis deal with outside society, they tend towards isolation, although this is of course slowly changing. For the most part, Hopis live on their reservation land and avoid too much interaction with outside society. However, today many have jobs outside of the reservation and have adopted many characteristics of a Western lifestyle. So although some are leaning toward integration, the majority attitude is more one of separation. For the Hopis, experience is both numinous and mystical. They can have a numinous experience concerning Tawa, because this creator god is so great and really so distant that it is reasonable that the Hopi believer would experience the awe and trembling before this supreme deity as in a numinous experience. The focus is to worship Tawa, not necessarily through open praise, but through the carrying out of proper ceremonies, keeping the tribe's traditions, and living according to Tawa's plan. This is the supreme task for the Hopi. Tawa gave to humanity a plan by which to live in this world in complete peace and harmony with others, animals, and the natural world. It is of the utmost importance to the Hopi to continue to abide by this plan, because it is the forgetting of this plan and living according to one's own plan that leads to the eventual destruction of each world. Tawa, however, has little interaction with humanity. The Hopi believer would not necessarily ask Tawa for something they wanted. For example, they don't pray to Tawa for good crops or rain. Those usually are the duties of the Kachina and other lesser gods like Sotuknang or Spider Woman. These are the deities or spirits that the Hopis usually look to for assistance. On the other hand, the more common experience is a mystical one, since for the Hopi the sacred and the profane are not separate. The sacred is present in ourselves through the divine knowledge that Tawa gave each person, and in the world around us with Kachinas and other spirits, as well as in the animal world that can harbor the spirits of ancestors and deities as well. So simply living in the world, as long as the Hopi is living according to Tawa's plan, is a mystical experience because they experience sanctity in everything. For example, the planting and harvesting of corn is a mystical experience because the Hopi is performing a ritual and asking the Kachinas for help with the crop. In addition, during the ceremonies that deal with the welcoming of Kachinas and the sending of the Kachinas home, the Hopis wear Kachina masks and costumes and are believed to actually embody the spirit of that Kachina during the time that they are wearing the costume. So the human merges with the spirit of the Kachina during that time, and the ceremonies become a mystical experience. It is important to note that for the Hopis, art is not a secular endeavor, nor is it solely for entertainment. The creation of art is for religious or traditional purposes. The most well-known form of Hopi art is the Kachina doll. These dolls are created for many of the individual Kachinas and given to children to help them learn about the Kachinas and their individual personality. It is a way of helping the children begin to learn the very complicated mythology of the Hopis. Then there are the decorative bowls and baskets used for ceremonial purposes. The costumes the Hopis wear during ceremonies are extremely intricate and artistic. The woman in the corner of the screen is dressed as a particular Kachina, and the painting next to her shows a ceremony of many Hopis dressed as individual Kachinas during a ceremony. So their art forms serve a very particular purpose in religious and traditional Hopi life and are not created simply for enjoyment.